Good morning, brethren, and welcome to our bi-weekly program entitled The Word in a Glimpse, which is broadcast live on Facebook every Monday and every Wednesday at 8 a.m. West Africa time, which is 7 a.m. GMT. Today is Wednesday. Today is Wednesday, the 10th of May 2023. And our topic today is the continuation of the topic that we started last Wednesday, and which is entitled, Should the Whole World Worship the God of Israel? Should the whole world worship the God of Israel? So today is part 2 of this teaching. You remember last Wednesday when we started talking of this topic, we saw how God came to be called the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. We saw that in the very beginning when God created man, he didn't give man his name. He didn't tell man how he had to be called. So Abraham just called him God, and all those who succeeded Adam called him God. He was only God. That was his name. But later on, when he appeared to Abraham, he talked to Abraham. He didn't tell Abraham what was his name. He just presented himself to Abraham as being God. And Abraham got to know him as God. And after the death of Abraham, he introduced himself to Isaac as being the God of Isaac's father, Abraham. So God came to be known to Isaac and those around Isaac as the God of Abraham. And to Jacob, God introduced himself as being the God of Abraham and Jacob. The God of Abraham and Jacob. So God came to be known in the times of Jacob as the God of Abraham and Jacob. And we remember that that God changed the name of Jacob into Israel. And anyway, God kept calling Jacob at times Israel, at times Jacob, because both names belonged to him. So God was then the God of Isaac, the God of Abraham and Isaac. And after the death of Jacob, God came to be known to the children of Israel as the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. This is the name by which he introduced himself to Moses. Moses was to be the leader of Israel. Moses was his servant, God's servant, to lead Israel from Egypt to Canaan, the land that God has promised them to give them forever. So he introduced himself to Moses as being the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And at the same time, he also gave Moses his proper name, which is I am. So the God whose proper name is I am is the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Let's now read Joshua chapter 24, verse 2. Joshua 24, verse 2. Joshua 24, verse 2. Let's read. And Joshua said to all the people, Thus says the Lord God of Israel, your fathers, including Terah, the father of Abraham and the father of Nahor, dwelt on the other side of the river in old times, and they served other gods. So here we see something very important that is introduced to us in this teaching. Joshua is calling the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob the God of Israel. He said, "Thus says the Lord God of Israel." So Joshua, who succeeded to Moses as the servant of God, as the leader of Israel, introduced the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob as just the God of Israel. So I am is the God of Israel. This clearly shows that the God whose proper name is I am actually is the God of Israel. And the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob is the God of Israel. The Lord Almighty is the God of Israel. The God who created the universe is the God of Israel. The God who created heaven and earth is the God of Israel. The God who made man in his own image and according to his likeness is the God of Israel. The God who is indifferently called Yahweh or Jehovah is the God of Israel. So it is thus obvious that God is the God of Israel. And when we refer to many scriptures in the Holy Bible, we can be certain that the only true and living God is Yahweh. The only true and living God is I am, and thus the God of Israel. The God of Israel is the only true and living God, as we may read, for example, in 1 Kings chapter 18, verse 39. So he is the true God, the only true and living God, the God of Israel. Let's now read Deuteronomy chapter 6. Deuteronomy chapter 6, verses 13 and 14. Deuteronomy chapter 6, verses 13 and 14. You shall fear the Lord your God and serve him, and shall take oaths in his name. You shall not go after other gods, the gods of the peoples who are all around you. This is what God taught the children of Israel. This is what the God of Israel taught his people of Israel. So in the times of old, each group of people and each nation had their own so-called gods, whom they served, whom they were fearing, whom they were serving, whom they were calling upon. They had their own so-called gods whom they were worshiping. And the Lord of Israel told the children of Israel never to worship all those different gods, all those so-called gods of the nations who would be all around them, but to only worship him and him alone, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the God of Israel. So the God of Israel clearly told the people of Israel never to seek and never to serve and never to worship any of those so-called gods, which were the gods of the nations around them. They only were to serve and worship the God of Israel and the God of Israel alone. The other nations could continue worshiping their own gods, but the nation of Israel only had to worship the God of Israel, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the God whose proper name is I am, the God whose name is Yahweh. So the God of Israel even told the people of Israel, he instructed the people of Israel not to mix with any other people, and especially through marriage. For the people of Israel never to either worship other people's gods or make other people come and worship the God of Israel with the people of Israel. So the God of Israel set a difference between the people of Israel and all the other peoples, all the other nations. So there had to be a difference between the people of Israel and all the other peoples. The God of Israel was solely for the children of Israel. That is what he made them understand. Let's now read Genesis chapter 15. Genesis chapter 15, verses 13 and 14. Genesis chapter 15, verses 13 and 14. Then one who had escaped came and taught Abram the Hebrew, for he dwelt by the terebinth trees of Mamre the Amorite. That is chapter 14. Let's see. Genesis chapter 15, verses 13 and 14. Then he said to Abram, so it's God who said to Abram, then he said to Abram, know certainly that your descendants will be strangers in a land that is not theirs, and will serve them, and they will afflict them 400 years. And also the nation whom they serve I will judge. Afterwards they shall come out with great possessions. So this is Genesis chapter 15, verses 13 and 14. Let's also read Genesis chapter 46. Genesis chapter 46, verse 3. Genesis chapter 46, verse 3. So he said, he is God. So he said, I am God, the God of your father. Do not fear to go down to Egypt, for I will make of you a great nation there. You see, when the God of Israel was dealing with Abraham, Isaac wasn't existing yet. Not only Israel didn't exist as a nation yet, but Israel didn't exist at all, and Abraham was childless. Yet God promised Abraham that Abraham would have descendants who would possess the land of Canaan. And God clearly told Abraham that he, God, will raise a nation among the descendants of Abraham. And it is that nation that God would raise that would possess the land of Canaan. Yet there was a problem. Those descendants of Abraham, while Abraham was in the land of Canaan, those descendants of Abraham would not be numerous enough to possess the land of Canaan. So if those descendants of Abraham were to dwell in Canaan since their young age till their old age, they would certainly be living spread all over the land of Canaan in different locations, and they would be living far from each other. All their families will be spread all over the land, all over the country, and there will not be any kind of unity among them. And they wouldn't be strong enough to fight and defeat the Canaanites who were dwelling in that land and take possession of the land that God was promising Abraham to give them. So something had to be done. So God, the God of Israel, made Jacob and his children with their households go down to Egypt. He sent them down to Egypt for them to become a nation. Because they're in Egypt, they would be put in the same location, at the same place. They would become numerous but staying in the same area because the country was not theirs. So the owners of the country gave them a portion of land where they would stand, where they would remain. So they went to Egypt as a family, and they were given a portion of the land of Egypt, Goshen, to settle there. Thus, they all were in the same place. They all were in the same area. They eventually multiplied and became very many after almost 4.5 centuries. Exactly after 430 years, they have become very, very many. Now they were a nation. They have become a nation. All of them were at the same location, in the same area, and they were all sharing the same culture and the same habits. And they were all referring to the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. They were all referring of themselves as being the descendants of Israel, because it's Israel who was the head of the family when they went down to Egypt. So they didn't forget the God whom their forefather Jacob taught them about. They went to Egypt as a family. Now they were a nation. They have the same culture, the same language, the same habits, referring to the same forefather, Israel. So they were now a nation. And the nation of Israel that they built there was strong enough now to defeat any other nation around them. The Egyptians themselves said that these people have become very strong, that in case of war, they may defeat us. Even though Egypt was the greatest army in those times, the strongest, the most powerful army in those times. So now, the children of Israel, the descendants of Israel, have become strong enough to fight the Canaanites, to defeat the Canaanites, and to possess the land of Canaan, which their God, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the God of their father Israel, has given them as their heritage. So God has made for himself a nation that would be called after his name, a nation that would be his people, while he, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, would be their God. The God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the God of Israel, as Joshua introduced him to the people, the God of Israel has formed a nation of his own, a people of his own, a people belonging to him. And for him, he, the God of Israel, would be God. And this people, this nation, was the nation of Israel. This nation was the nation that he formed in Egypt and that he took to Canaan for them to go and possess Canaan. So we are going to stop here today and continue with this same teaching on next Wednesday, the 17th of May. God bless you abundantly beyond all your expectations.